May I tell you a story?
No golden arches, a mascot other than Ronald, paper menus. This doesn't sound like the McD's we all know and love. Well, let's go back to the beginning to see what it was really like to eat at the first ever McDonald's.
Yeah, like ancient history.
Barbecues on the menu.
You know, this is the first time I prepared a barbecue.
Before the popularity of the hamburger, barbecue was a major fare for restaurants looking to serve large quantities of food. McDonald's was no different. Back when the McDonald brothers, Richard and Maurice, opened their first restaurant in the 1940s, barbecue was the major offering being served. The first location in California actually started as a barbecue joint. Among the most popular items were barbecued beef, pork, and ham, which were all served with French fries. Or if you couldn't decide, you could order the barbecue plate for just 60 cents.
Bon appetit.
This served as a kind of sampler platter designed to let customers try everything the restaurant had to offer. While they certainly were not the most popular item, you could see the first iteration of McDonald's hamburgers on this menu as well. The menu's come a long way, but you can still see forerunners of this original menu on the boards at your local drive-thru. Don't believe us? Where do you think McDonald's got the idea for the McRib?
Tell me.
The walk-up window.
Can I help you, sir?
While most of us choose to get their fast food from drive-thru windows these days, it was a much different scene back when McDonald's first burst onto the scene. Before companies knew how efficient the drive-thru could be, they attempted walk-up windows, which you can still see at some franchises and restaurant locations. This was how people had always ordered food in the past, and with no great advent on the horizon, McDonald's chose to implement this tried-and-true method into their business models. Since the first location for McDonald's was in California, which stays reasonably warm year-round, people were quick to start lining up at these open-air walk-up windows. Most of these McDonald's came with a patio that was open year-round as well. Customers would grab their food and take a seat right outside the store. This formula became standard for fast food restaurants at the time, and until the drive-thru was integrated, it was the preferred method for distributing food to customers.
Give me my shake!
No golden arches.
What is that? A concept.
While the golden arches are perhaps the most recognizable facet of the McDonald's logo, there was a time when the stores didn't have them. 1962 saw the very first set of golden arches go up at a McDonald's restaurant, and before this, patrons were accustomed to seeing a sign that portrayed Speedy, the old mascot. It wasn't until a few years later that the golden arches would gain traction, and many of the older restaurants were retrofitted with this classic iconography. It would take some time before people started referring to McDonald's as the Golden Arches, but once the name stuck, it really stuck. These arches are now synonymous with McDonald's and have become a natural extension of the name and imaging for the brand. While it's true that many factors go into the marketing of the brand, two towering arches flying high above interstates everywhere was more than enough to draw new customers to the chain. It just goes to show the power of iconic imagery and steadfast marketing. Where would McDonald's be without their signature golden arches? Would they still be the biggest fast food franchise in the world? Who's to say?
You.
First time here? Well, let us be your virtual video drive-thru. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Thanks. Eat for less than $1.
Here, $1.
Have you ever enjoyed a hamburger for 15 cents? Or how about fries for 10 cents? Well, that's what it would have cost you if you visited the original McDonald's. While it's true that in the current day and age, inflation is raging like never before, we invite you to take a step back to the 1960s when you could still eat at McDonald's for less than $1. Taking a look at the menus through the ages, we can see the natural progression of fast food prices associated with rising demand, supply chain costs, and cost of living increases.
Everything is so expensive.
Back in the 60s, however, you would be hard-pressed to find anything on the menu over 50 cents. For example, when the Big Mac was first released in 1967, the going price was just 45 cents. Please take us back to a time when food was higher quality and cheaper. The menu and pricing would go through changes throughout the years, but it would take decades for anything on their menu to creep up even close to $1. Talk about a value menu.
Pick up your menu. Order your
your meal.
Efficiency is the name of the game.
Good job.
While we still consider McDonald's fast food, the way that they did things back in the day puts the fast food game of today to shame. The McDonald's business model wouldn't work unless they were able to get mass quantities of food out to their customers. As a result, the two founding brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, worked hard on a system that would get these people their food as fast as humanly possible. The two brothers had taken heavy inspiration from a company that manufactured pre-built houses. This company was able to construct an entire suburb in New York State in record time. Using the tried and true method of assembly line crafting techniques, they pushed their small burger shop to peak efficiency, making sure that all employees and stations worked in perfect synchronicity.
Good job, partner.
This also meant that much of the assembly line would become mechanized, with machines designed for specific purposes being implemented. Milkshake stirrers, dispensers for condiments, and patty makers all had their time to shine, which meant that the number of employees needed for an average store was kept to the bare minimum. After all was said and done, this new method of preparation allowed for an insane increase in productivity. The average McDonald's was able to churn out nearly 1,000 servings of French fries in just an hour. This marked increase in speed and service meant that customers started to take notice. It wasn't long until lines were around the block. It's a given that when you walk into a McDonald's, you want your food fast, but it wasn't always this way. So let's thank Maurice and Richard for creating their proprietary speedy service system.
Thank you.
Paper menus.
Let's just order.
The items on McDonald's menu are vast these days, but there was a time when this mammoth of fast food ingenuity was little more than a fledgling upstart. They needed a way to let people know what was on offer, and this was long before the electronic menu boards that you see today were even a thing. So McD's had to rely on the paper menu. McDonald's entire menu was distilled down to a small format that allowed customers to see everything they could order from the hamburger shop. While these paper menus were phased out in the late 70s and early 80s, you can still find some of them floating around in food museums or rolled up in Grandma and Grandpa's cluttered junk drawer. Of course, today, most locations have switched to digital formats these days, with screens that update and change frequently. But this was a simpler time in the history of this fast food titan.
Just like my dad used to make. Until McDonald's fired him.
A strange mascot.
Hey there.
Hi, Ronald.
Ronald McDonald is one of the most easily recognizable brand mascots in the world. The red and yellow suit combined with the white clown makeup creates an image that is partly responsible for McDonald's rise to fame. When paired with the marketing of McDonald's Happy Meals, Ronald McDonald helped shoot the company to fame. But this wasn't always the case. The first mascot to go up under the McDonald's banner was Speedy. Speedy was a hamburger-headed character dressed in a chef's outfit, including a white chef's hat, and for many years adorned the top of the McDonald's sign. He was named Speedy after the company's proprietary assembly line system. The mascot attempted to convey the speed at which you could be served at their restaurants. After many years of service, Speedy got a slight overhaul. Neon lights were added to give the illusion of animation. The neon showed Speedy's legs moving incredibly fast, and customers could follow his pointing finger right to the walk-up window of the restaurant. In the early 1960s, Speedy did his victory lap before being replaced by the first iteration of Ronald McDonald.
He was never, ever funny.
However, this wasn't the Ronald that we all know and love. This Ronald was a bit of a strange representation. The first Ronald wore a cup over his nose and had a strange silver hat in the shape of a square. Since the idea was that they were going to use this mascot for marketing, especially to children, McDonald's was forced to take a step back and reimagine the abomination that they had created. After several rounds of marketing test groups and internal talks, the first Ronald was scrapped for a version that is much more comparable to the one we know today. Sometimes a mascot comes before the name. Other times, you can tell that the mascot is just there for marketing. This particular mascot took several rounds of workshops before it became the iconic figure that we all know to this day.
Sorry, what?
Ronald McDonald's.
Uniforms.
The suit has power. The man harnesses that power.
Uniforms at McDonald's have also evolved over the years. In recent decades, they've adopted a more sleek and modern-looking style with a minimalist approach. Before all the changes over the past decades, McDonald's had a very subtle presentation with their uniforms. Employees wore simple collared shirts and dark pants, which was then completed with a paper hat. These hats featured an image of Speedy, the lovable mascot that came before Ronald. It was clear that McDonald's was all about efficiency, and they represented this even in their uniforms. The paper hats have since been retired, but there are still remnants of that first uniform in McD's attire today. Most McDonald's employees still wear hats, and the casual look of the collared shirts with dark pants is still a staple. You may have to take a time machine back to see an employee in their old outfit, but luckily for you, we do the time traveling so you don't have to.
Stiff, scratchy, unattractive uniforms?
A pit stop to San Bernardino.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's move!
There's a McDonald's on just about every corner in the U.S., but there was a time when this massive chain only had a few locations serving the public. The first of these locations was located in San Bernardino, California, which at the time was just a small suburb of Los Angeles. It's since grown into a booming metropolis, but there was a time when this store simply saw blue-collar workers on the way home from their jobs in the city. Catering to the needs and appetites of this demographic would eventually be McDonald's bread and butter, but at this point, they were just happy to see any and all customers walk up to place an order. What seems like just a cliff note in the long history of McDonald's actually showed where the chain was headed. After the San Bernardino store blew up, McDonald's knew that franchising was in their future. In 1953, McDonald's put up its first franchise store in Phoenix, Arizona, and once Ray Kroc took over the company in 1955, many more stores would follow. The rest, as they say, is history. Deep-fried, delicious history.
It's true. It's true.
Give us a thumbs up as we serve up a little bonus pertaining to McD's fries. In the 90s, on the back of growing concern from the Heart Association, McDonald's decided to move away from the tried-and-true formula that they had used for their fries. Beef tallow was once used to fry their potatoes in the past, but they moved from this heavenly ingredient to vegetable oil. So McD's famous fries are different today than the ones that would have been ordered at the first ever McDonald's.
Hey, what's up, dudes? Fries?
Ice cream machines.
We should start an ice cream company!
McDonald's was ahead of the game on this one. After buying out the McDonald brothers, Ray Kroc would go on to elevate the way that the chain served ice cream. Ever since the first store was opened, people were enjoying malts and shakes from McDonald's. This process was elevated yet again when Maurice and Richard first met Kroc, who sold them the ice cream multi-mixers that would fit into their proprietary Speedy system. These mixers allowed McDonald's to churn out the ice cream at a rate never seen before. It was partly out of curiosity that led Ray Kroc to visit the first McDonald's store. He couldn't imagine a restaurant that would need as many mixers as he had sold to Maurice and Richard. Upon visiting the operation and seeing how efficient this little hamburger store was, Ray Kroc knew that the brothers were onto something. On the back of this visit, Ray Kroc would go on to decide to go into business with the brothers. Several years later, he had the keys to the castle after buying them out. These mixers may be a far cry from the ice cream machines that McDonald's uses today, but it was the first step on a path to every McD's ice cream machine in the continental United States being broken.
Can I have the soft chocolate cup, please?
No. The machine's busted, princess.
Stay for seconds and tap or click another great video, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.